that wasn't an All-Ireland winning performance.
Probably should have won the game based on their second half performance.
Is it acceptable to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
OTB AM's performance rankings.
I'm scratching my head. Performances was just lacked that intensity.
Yeah, so if you're doing the performance rankings, Colm will say, okay, this is what it'll likely entail. Dan is notoriously hostile to other sports, so he's in the hot seat
That's
today.
not remotely
true,
to be clear. It's not remotely
notoriously
true.
hostile. Dan, where are we starting here?
No, well, I'm going to start with football.
Speaking of hostility.
How many football slots is there now? Okay, no, I mean, I really enjoy golf and horse racing and other sports, as you know. Aviva Stadium friendlies, yeah. Well, look, I was writing about this last week. I mean, and this was a reference to Manchester United in Dublin at the weekend. We see some nice pictures there of players. And look, it's a personal taste. This isn't one of these things of telling people how to live their lives. People can choose to spend their money as they want, and it's not one of these up on the sort of giving a sermon about what people should do. It's not one of those. I actually think it's actually for some of those people it must have been a very deeply frustrating experience on Saturday lunchtime when you see the team news coming through from Old Trafford and Manchester United are playing a full strength team or close to a full strength team in their game there, and then that the team that's coming to Dublin is not going to be the strongest one.
How much were the tickets for the Aviva Stadium?
I think it was upwards of €75. You hear people talking about 110. That was premium.
Yeah.
So there's obviously different tiered prices, and kids tickets will be different prices. Now these sold out within 10 minutes. This game. I mean, this is obviously the deep love and sort of passion that there is for Manchester United in Dublin, that they can sell it out. I mean, there's all sorts of football games in the Aviva that would be delighted that 40,000 people would go, and this is the first time here since 2017, and I understand it, and a lot of people would have bought those tickets on the basis of it being, you can imagine that the conversations people would have, or parents with their kids, and it's not just parents with their kids, it's the one sometimes you
kids
go to.
Kids with their parents.
Yeah, but it's an element of, will I see Bruno, or will I see Rashford, or will I see whoever? And look, I mean, there's no suggestion that Eric, Ten Hag or anything should be. It's not a case of saying, oh well, that's a disgrace. I mean, they're just doing their job. The issue is the terms and conditions for the whole occasion. The FAI are arranging these games. They're a completely free hit for them in the sense they get a flat fee for hosting it. The organisers bring together the teams, and clearly in some cases for these friendlies, I remember in the past Barcelona coming here, there was a bit of a discussion about trying to get people would try and get terms and conditions in these friendlies that Messi has to play, or X amount of players have to play. Clearly there's no such terms and conditions here, and I know from the perspective of and no one cares about the press perspective, but you see the email coming out, apply for accreditation for this game, just note there will be no post-match press conference afterwards, and you're just looking at this going, these are just getting in and they're getting out, and there's no terms and conditions at all, there's no obligation, and there's a sense of the power of the name will mean that it will sell, and that's it. And it turned out that the tickets for the game on Old Trafford on Saturday were certainly 20% cheaper, I think, or certainly considerably cheaper. I actually spoke to David Sneyd the weekend, who's obviously with strong Manchester United connections. He spoke about a friend of his from Ireland who actually flew over to the game in Manchester, and all things considered it would have been cheaper to do that trip than it would be for a lot of people, particularly coming from outside Dublin, to come to this game. As we know, not going into the cost of living stuff. And you get there, and look, you can't. Maybe there's loads of people out there who went who'll say, "No, we enjoyed our day. It was a good time, and we were around fellow fans, and got some nice photographs, and there was." That's fine, but these occasions never live up to it. Every time I see a pre-season friendly arranged in Dublin, I'm thinking, well, I need to figure out how not to go to that, because that's not going to be it's not going to live up to the billing. But naturally, every time it's not sold to people in that way.
Was it the Amstel?
They empty their pockets on a half-truth, and there's a lot of unhappiness out there, and while technically no lies were told, again, they have no obligation, but clearly it's been booked on the basis of just bring a team, it'll sell anyway. And it did. I think it's very unsatisfactory.
Was it the Amstel tournament all those years ago when Derry City were playing, and there were Newcastle United came over, and they ran a little I went for a couple of years, and I organised a bus from Galway to go up because I was getting into League of Ireland at the time, and I wanted to go up and see Derry City, but everyone else can up see Newcastle or Celtic or all these teams, and that was nowhere near sold out at the time. But this, I got like loads of demands for people who wanted tickets last week, as did Dan actually. And I was like, I didn't realise, I wasn't even aware of the friendly itself. But then I was like, there's still a massive Man United support in Ireland that want to see them. And like back in the day, I would mean like, follow your League of Ireland team. But like, it's each to their own. If you want to go up and see them, I actually did feel a bit sorry for like a kid who wants to see Man United, and like he's built up to the day, and then you just see everyone booing Harry Maguire.
Yeah, it's huge. Like I got back into Houston at about 6 o'clock Sunday evening, and when I was walking out, it was just a sea of Manchester United jerseys going back to counties not from Dublin, basically. All families ranging from all age groups. Almost all of them too had the new jersey, which I thought was striking. It was like the amount of money that this club accumulates. And so it's a debate right down the middle, because United don't owe anyone anything, you could argue, right? So they played Lons at Old Trafford on Saturday, and you look at the starting 11 there, and it was ominous for the following day, because it's a really strong team. Like that starting team that played against Lons in a 3-1 win could very feasibly be a team that United would put against Man City in the Manchester Derby. So that looked bad, like, straight away. And then they go the next day and they get this massive money making operation, because they're commercial colossus, United. They've been doing this for 20 plus years. They're way ahead of, like, if you look at the 90s, look at Anfield, was basically dilapidated in comparison to Old Trafford and the work that they did. Like, there's that famous game in, was it October 95? It was Cantona's first game back, when Fowler scored twice, and the stands there reconstructed.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it looked terrible at the time, but it was all like, think about the long term.
Since the Glazers came in, they've really maximised their commercial.
Yeah, but even before that, like under the previous regime, it was like the stadium was incredible, and now United have actually fallen behind in terms of the stadium, but the commercial enterprise just grew and grew and grew. Remember after the treble, they released Beyond the Promised Land, I think was the video, which was like, it went huge, like people bought it everywhere. So you fast forward to the modern day, and like you said, Johnny, like each to their own, and United have an absolutely massive support. And you get the average kid saying to their parent, I really want to go, bring me to this match. And there was still 1 or 2 stars that played. So the picture that we showed on screen was Jadon Sancho getting a selfie, one of the more expensive players the last few years. So that's the star that's there. And they have so many stars in the team, as in stars that kids will like, that it was probably justified to a lot of kids leaving the Aviva yesterday thinking, thank you so much for bringing me. But then the rest of us are looking at it from a footballing perspective. It was like, what was that all about? They had basically a festival of football over the weekend, where their headline act was on Saturday.
Yeah.
USA at the World Cup, Dan, is next.
Yeah, well, they're out.
Just never got going for them.
No, I mean, it was striking. I was looking before that game against Sweden on the weekend, and even just like even some of the betting markets and stuff, it was clear it was going to be a low scoring game. There was an anticipation that this was going to be a bit of a slog, and part of that is maybe on account of Sweden's reputation as much as anything. But yeah, I mean, like there's this sort of litany of shocks in the World Cup. I mean, England probably, were sort of one penalty kick away from being in here too, because they really left it late against Nigeria, in the sense of, not left it late, they won on penalties, but they were hanging on in extra time with 10 players on the pitch, and they could have been gone too. And the whole competition seems to be opening up to the point where, like, I think Spain are the second favourites, having like basically left 12 players at home due to a dispute coming up to the competition. So it's all falling apart, and USA are sort of like the traditional power that you think, okay, they're going to take control of the situation, and they're just gone. Their earliest exit, round of 16 on penalties. A lot of people may have seen the penalty kick incident where the ball sort of did it cross the line, the power of technology.
Can you explain it?
Well, it was the last penalty kick for the Swedish player, and
look at that.
It's
on screen, there's the ball just over the line.
And
you cannot be serious.
The goalkeeper pushed it up, and it's actually, you need to watch it a couple of times to get a sense on what happened. And the player didn't even seem particularly sure that they'd scored this momentous, like, this is your David O'Leary moment here or something. Not quite maybe on that scale. Sweden are a top team, but like, it's still a momentous thing to knock America out of the World Cup, and you have this agonising delay while you wait for it to happen, and then it happens.
Was it the most underwhelming celebration of a momentous achievement in the history of anything? Because you have to wait so long.
It is,
and in live play as well, it really looked like the keeper saved it.
Yeah,
like it really did. Like, so I understand the delay by everyone.
You mentioned David O'Leary. Steve McGuinness had his 50th birthday celebration the other night. Ex-PFAI head Charlie O'Leary was at it.
Current PFAI head.
Current PFAI.
Let's not retire him.
Charlie O'Leary.
Charlie O'Leary was there. He was, yeah.
What age is Charlie now?
God, he's pushing close to 100. He lives in Dublin 9 as well, or that neck of the woods.
Who doesn't?
He's one of our neighbours, I think.
Bet you Charlie doesn't disown it though.
Or he's maybe Dublin 5, but he's nearby.
Yeah.
But like he was there. Yeah, I mean it's a slight tangent, but he is an incredibly powerful football figure. And he's still going strong, unlike the American women at the World Cup.
Nice. He was thinking, how am I going to bring this back because of your tangent?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But and of course, the American then, like, Megan Rapinoe missed a penalty, and like Donald Trump's having a go. Their defeat is like a defeat for wokeness. That they've gone out. So like there's just all.
What are we up for, Dan? Who are the neutrals in Ireland up for now?
Well,
England?
I don't know. I'd imagine this. We have this. We should be mature as a nation.
So weren't watching Man United?
We should be mature as a nation. Blah blah. But they're not up for England.
Yeah, okay.
They're not up for England. Japan are sort of. Japan are up there. That's a story you could probably get behind. It's like Jamaica and Colombia. You have the sort of the Colombian assassins, or are they? Who England played the winner of that game. So
assassins.
Did you not follow the whole
beforehand? Remember Denise O'Sullivan?
Friendly that was called.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
We might have a grudging respect for them, like Netflix documentary style. Over time, we might have.
You may realise though they weren't that bad at all.
No, it wasn't so bad. But 4 penalties missed in a row in this shootout too, which is quite phenomenal. Before the winning kick, which was quite ambiguous. America, of course, won the last 2 World Cups. Like, so this is kind of
just hasn't gotten going.
Well, it's kind of the equivalent of like France the 2002 World Cup. I know they've gone around further, America, but they were very unconvincing, and they nearly went out in the group stage.
Yeah, you were thinking, okay, they're going to get going. They haven't. Arsenal are also here.
No, this is we're going into Amber, and we're going to.
Sorry, we're going into Irish rugby and Arsenal. So let's talk, Dan. Let's talk rugby.
Well, let's talk rugby.
Dan loves rugby.
Well, the one thing I do have an aversion to is placing too much importance in like warm up games, and like I've mentioned Arsenal in here too, because like what does the Community Shield win mean? It basically means nothing. Now, unfortunately, sports shows have to talk about them and find the meaning from them, and there will be new signings or new players or whatever it might be. But I mean, Arsenal won the Community Shield in 2020. Arteta was nearly gone 2 months later, around the time they were playing on the Dundalk. I remember at the time was like the feel-good factor around Arsenal continues as they win the Community Shield. Counted for nothing.
Yeah.
Leicester won it a year later. I mean, I have to mention this beforehand if anyone remembers, and in fairness, the other staff in the show remembered who won the Community Shield. I couldn't. I looked up and I was like, this has no bearing on anything. So yeah, I mean, Arsenal, it shows that they're in good health, but I don't think Man City are suddenly trembling because this new force, hit back against them in the Community Shield with a load of extra time in it. And the Irish rugby game again. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's just, to me, I know people. This is like the test matches and friendlies, but like it's a war. The Rugby World Cup friendlies are very much warm-up matches, more so than any other. It seems to be avoiding injury as much as anything, and can you glean too much from them? So I wouldn't be putting anyone in green on the basis of their performance.
It's green for the result alone, like 33-17 against the side that we only played a few months ago, so it wasn't that inspiring to play Italy again. Like, it's the first match Ireland played since the 18th of March, but it's all crucial, it's all necessary to get some sort of...
You have to play again.
Rhythm going, but we were saying beforehand, look, they're only playing 3 warm-up games officially now. They're against Portugal this week in warm weather training, but that'll be behind closed doors, extremely unofficial, Colombia style. But yeah, there's only 3 warm-ups, which is the first time since 2007. Every subsequent World Cup since then, it's been 4 games. But Andy Farrell had that put to him, and he said, look, we don't need the games, like, this is all about training, and this squad know each other so well now. So like, look, one could probably hazard a guess at the 23 that will be in the first game, like, from the starters and the bench, but it's probably more the peripheral figures. And then also at the weekend, it just showcased how Caden Doris can really play across the back row. Like, he was absolutely phenomenal at 7, scoring 2 tries. It was just
he did a burst in the second half. Like, the pace of this lad. I was like, but you have the Jack Conan thing, you have the Italian guy. I was like, how can you play these warm-ups in rugby without having this massive risk of injury? Yeah, so it's a really tough one for Farrell, because it's like Doris played, like, how much did he play the game? Like, he was, and you're like, why are we even risking these lads?
You see, if you go out there with that mentality, you will get injured.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And you have to play the warm-up games. It's like any sport preparing for any major competition.
It's funny, yesterday, like, Sam Ewing, just back from injury, breaks his leg basically at Cork, and I say it to Danny Gilligan, who's like basically in the same stable. I was like, you're the same age more or less as him, as a little bit younger, and it must be in your head like that. This can happen. He goes, oh, it's not my head. Like, you can't think like that. You never think like that. But
I saw the interview with Wesley Joyce, the jockey, over the weekend.
Yeah, like
that's a complete tangent. But like, jockey was in a very serious injury at the Galway races last year, and sort of a powerful interview that effectively, like, he's sort of lost the full use of his voice.
Yeah, so he speaks like he's kind of whispering, kind of, and it's amazing that he can even do that.
But he's back,
and he's back
at it. So like, you can't.
From Moy Ross, like his story's a movie, like, and the story isn't written yet. But just going back to Arsenal, Declan Rice. So how was he?
He was good. He was good from what I saw.
I know there was reaction to it.
Yeah. I know Roy Keane's on about him not being worth it, but I mean, the problem with that is that no one is worth the money.
Yeah,
that
and the fees,
relevant. Like the fees have gone so crazy.
The fees is £105 million.
Who cares?
If he stays at Arsenal for a decade, then it's value for money, because then season you're breaking it down. Like, it's so uninteresting, the fee discussion, isn't it? Because I think we're way beyond that.
It's just that they don't. We're still. I think that people debate transfer fees. They recall what transfer fees were when, like, Andy Cole went for $7 million.
Roy Keane went for like 3.6
I picked on like Sky Sports News the other day, and in the space of like a minute there was the news and brief transfers, and it was like a 22 million, a 32 million, and a 26 million. Like like 105 million is 20 million in sort of how we in an inflationary sort of way.
When Roy Keane moved to United for 3.75 million, people are talking about bonkers money. Shearer to Newcastle, 15 million was a world record. Crazy money. Like, what's gone wrong with the game? It doesn't matter. The figures change, but the sentiment stays the same. Like, people will always be outraged by big fees.
I actually kind of have sympathy for Roy Keane now at the moment, because it's like, are you Roy Keane, or are you what people expect of Roy Keane? Because he says something about Declan Rice, and I'm just like, all my feed of media stuff for the weekend was like, Roy Keane says something about Declan Rice. I'm like, how is this even a story? Like, it was everywhere.
Well, it's his pull, because
it's his pull. Because so he must be like,
he is the biggest pull.
That pull factors into his contract negotiation.
Yeah.
There's going to be an announcement today. He's on United social media accounts that there's this teaser of him where he appears from the shadows, and it says the 8th of August 2023. So that's today. Something's coming.
He's not announcing another game at Dublin, is he? Maybe he might play in this one.
So they've made amends, but like, he's a complete commercial outlet. Look. Also, Dan Fergus Keogh in the comments there has a bone to pick with you about your amber choices. Arsenal won their game, why orange? And Ireland B won their game comfortably, why orange? Utter nonsense. Now, you had a point to prove about, because we were saying maybe Arsenal and green, but you were like, no.
Well, like, I mean, let's take this to the performance rankings are based on a traffic light, right? And it's in the context of where they're going, in the context of their goal this season. Are you saying that they've sped on through now? Like, they're on you go, you are ready, like you are off to go.
Well, when
amber, you're still waiting.
When it's too late to break and the lights are at amber, you go through. And that's Arsenal. They won the Community Shield. Well, they beat the treble winners.
You need a light green or something here,
Well, if
or
it's
whatever.
too late to break, it's actually dangerous.
Yeah,
to stop.
we're not advocating people do that.
Ridiculous.
But all I'm saying is, Fergus, no, I don't think green for me are like competitive wins. Not.
I know, but it's not their fault that it's not a competitive game.
Yeah, but
they won the game.
I know, but like,
do you know what I mean?
Performance. Hang on, if they hit green this week, then where do they go if they win their like 5 league games?
The performance rankings is the day itself. Like, it's not an overall.
Better greens. We've got greens.
They're good greens.
If you're waking up groggy at 3 minutes to 8 after bank holiday weekend, and you're listening to two lads on about like whether it should be green or amber,
well, sure, that's the whole slash.
Like, what? Unbelievable. Go ahead.
So the one thing as well is the injury time at the end of halves.
We will discuss that later on.
Yeah, but let's mention it just very briefly. Arsenal equalised in the 11th minute of 13 added on. If they continue that, like you said beforehand,
insane.
Players going to go mad. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will. Although, I mean, it shows that maybe over the years football matches have only ever really been 70 minutes long.
No, I know that, but then like bring it down to 80 minutes. Don't be. It's too long. Like,
psychologically, it's crazy.
Another Simpsons reference, really, really touching one, when the Mensa people sort of took over Springfield and they got rid of the green light, so it went from red to amber. So like traffic, like all traffic went faster. And Lenny's he goes, and it goes amber. He goes, oh, and he goes through and he goes, oh, thank God I made that light. And then he goes, if only I had somewhere to go. It's one of these touching moments. Speaking of touching moments, we've 2 more to go, Dan.
Yeah, we do. We have the green. Well, again, like, meaningful wins. So Cork, well, I mean, as Colm mentioned, like, it was a little bit of a massacre on Sunday.
Rebelettes.
Like, it was one of those games where you flick over a little bit late, and they're like sort of trying 25 minutes, and even then it's like, okay, this looks ominous. But
Waterford missed goal chances to stay in touch in the first half. That was the killer.
Yeah, but like, you have Amy O'Connor talking about scoring a hat-trick and not realising she's done it.
Yeah.
What an absolute champ. Like, that
class.
is humility. How is she from Cork? Like, honestly, seriously, like,
it's genuine. But look,
is she from Cork?
The game could have been different, right? Because it was 1-9 to 3 points at half time, but Waterford had a penalty last puck in the first half,
and another goal chance as well.
Yeah, wide top left, and she doesn't miss these things, so that was the turning point. But yeah, a hat-trick in 2 minutes, like, unbelievable.
It's just like, you don't want
memories of Robbie Fowler 4 minutes 35 against Arsenal back in the day.
I mean, he definitely, I don't think he was in the zone where he didn't know he'd done it. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just, like, it's sort of when this is the last couple of minutes and it's sort of meandering away, and it's sort of like junk time in a sort of a basketball game where it's just game over, and like, that's not what you want. But I know, like, we've got Sarah Donovan coming up anyway to sort of pick over the sort of details of the game. But to me, I know it's a Cork win, but I think it's the individual brilliance of a sort of a multi-talented sort of sports person as well, as we spoke about last week.
We're going to hear from Amy as well around the time here from Sarah Dunn. Very, very brief though. I'm watching the Sunday game highlights last night. Camogie could be really marketable. I'm telling you, because like, it's gotten a lot more physical as well, and it's fast. It's clearly improving skillfully wise. And if you brought, like, fair enough, hurling camogie, whatever, but if you brought like a tourist to a good camogie game in Croke Park with the atmosphere on Sunday, that's a lot closer. People are like, this is something. Like, it's I don't know. I was actually texting Noel Connors last night because he was on the show last week, and I was like, this is because. It's funny, from East Galway, from where I'm from, it's like all ladies football. Camogie doesn't really feature, but you're watching every now and then. You're like, Jesus, if you could sell this game a bit more. I don't know. It's the same as hurling, I suppose. Dan,
sorry, it's just so condensed as well. It's like,
but I don't think
when we've been talking about camogie in the performance rankings this year, it's been about protests, and it's not really been about the game itself. Like,
off the top of my head, at home, we don't have a camogie team. We've a very good hurling team. We've a very good ladies football team. We don't have a camogie team. Off the top of my head,
women's Gaelic football is ahead of camogie in terms of marketing, for sure. And you're right. Like, there's a serious game there that's been left behind, but it seems like there's only so much room for certain people, or for some people, to actually get on board with this. There was over 30,000 at Croke Park watching this game.
Cork victory is not good in some respects.
No, the margin of victory, when people look, the worry is people looking at it and be like, oh, sure, look. But Waterford appearing in their first final since 1945, never won it before.
Yeah,
and then
great
you watch the majesty,
like,
of that hat trick, like, and then even the penalty miss in the last puck of the first half. Like, there was drama in the game, but if you're looking at the result, you're thinking, sure, geez, what's the point in that? But the game itself, like you said, was actually entertaining in spells.
Alan Quinlan is waiting patiently, so we have finally, Dan, our new favourite Irish team, basically.
Well, yeah, there's always these phases of a team being in vogue. Like, we had Preston and Stoke and Burnley have a good contingent, but I think Southampton is going to be one this year. So they were playing Friday night against Sheffield Wednesday, and Gavin Bazunu, Will Smallbone and Ryan Manning all started. So Bazunu, not a great surprise to me. He's like retained his place, or he's regained his place under a new manager, Russell Martin. Smallbone, there was talk of him going out again, maybe leaving Southampton, but he was in there, played the full 90 minutes. And Ryan Manning, who's basically, he's moved from Swansea, he's with Russell Martin again. Now listen, again, like, Sheffield Wednesday have come up, you know, and Southampton are coming down, and there's still like Premier League quality there, like Ward Prowse. Will he go? Will he stay? We'll see. But the last couple of minutes they were very comfortable. Smallbone was involved, keeping the ball, like, just really, really involved, sort of metronomic in how sort of his presence in the match. Manning looks like he's going to play all the time, and Bazunu might be a good thing for him, just to have the experience of winning games sort of week on week. And I think financially they may still have to lose a couple of players, and I'm not sure if they're going to be up there all season, but I think there's a very strong chance they will be. I think, like, for three players who, you know, okay, Manning, him and Stephen Kenny, it just hasn't been an easy union, but you'd imagine there's a fair old chance of him being involved in the autumn. I think for Bazunu and Smallbone, it's just great to see them involved. In a team that will be,
they pass the ball a lot.
They like, the last couple of minutes, it was like keep ball stuff, and Smallbone was just everywhere, you know, just taking very simple sort of 5-yard passes.
And I think they're playing four at the back of this, because Russell Martin was a real three at the back last.
Yeah, I think they probably have the versatility. Manning is quite versatile as well, but
it's funny though, Dan, watching him when he was a number 10 at Go United, the idea of him playing left back, left centre back, is bonkers. Like, he was a complete number 10. But in fairness to him, where is the left back debate in Ireland now? Because obviously, like, McLean is kind of edging away from it.
Well, yeah, he's gone to Wrexham, and you'd imagine probably being in League Two. I mean, McLean's got to 100 caps now, which was a big landmark, so we'll see where where he stands. Enda Stevens is back to Stoke now and is back playing as well. So you sort of can't forget him. He was involved at the weekend. Then Callum O'Dowda got the shirt and was terrible in Greece. Like really terrible. And so it probably is up for grabs for someone to take ownership of the situation, and maybe Manning at Southampton could be the thing that properly sort of propels him forward. But I think it's wide open. We should mention Adam Ida as well scored the winning goal for Norwich.
And what the light on the Cork man's face.
Yeah, like he needed, like he didn't start, but then he got a goal and he needed that. And Shane Duffy back playing as well, which is one of the better
absolutely half
stories.
Aaron Connolly.
Yes.
What did you make of that? Because he sort of said, "I love the kid" afterwards.
I think he does though.
Yeah.
Aaron Connolly, divisive figure, but I think Duffy and Connolly have seen a bit of social media stuff before that suggests that they, there was a sort of a big brother thing at Brighton going on. But like the weekend it was, I suppose, with the EFL being back, there was at least some positive Irish involvement.
What is the general sort of expectation in the championship this season then? It started obviously a week earlier. Who you fancying? You people like doing those. There's actually great like little wager to the start of the season where you back like a winner or a team get promoted.
Well, you look last year, like the teams who went down last year, I mean the parachute payments have still created a situation where you should be strong. I mean Leeds were unconvincing yesterday, got Leicester. You'd imagine Leicester would be very strong if they keep hold of their stronger players. Like Dewsbury Hall was excellent the weekend, but there's new management at these clubs as well, so it's sort of harder to glean who's actually going to be the rising force outside it. Like
Watford,
Norwich would be sort of half interesting with David Wagner there now, because I suppose, I don't know, you still feel when it comes to the crunch though, Leicester and Leeds and Southampton won't be a million miles away. There's nothing revolutionary about stating that. I think that's going to be the case, but it was a great division last year. The championship from top to bottom was very, very congested and very tight, and I think it'll probably be more the same.
What do you prefer watching, the championship or the Premier League?
I mean, I prefer watching the Premier League, but if there's two games on side to side and it's like Southampton and Stoke on one side and a Premier League game with no Irish players involved on the other side, I'll watch Southampton and Stoke. That's just my personal interest.
Braeburn Coffee is the official coffee partner of OTB. It is coming to an Applegreen near you. New Braeburn locations are popping up every month, so visit applegreenstores.com/Braeburn to find your nearest Braeburn Coffee experience.